to grow. Small steps leading where you wanna go. Trials and fire, but you're still here. Stronger now after all these years. Learning, growing, healing, thriving. One step closer, keep on striving. Liberate, you're awesome, one step at a time. Every ripple starts so small, but it changes everything after all. One small move, one bold leap. This is the moment, go make it deep. Ooh, 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 ooh.
All right. Well, welcome back to Liberate You're Awesome with Anna Kate. And I am joined by this gorgeous blonde. I am going to tell you her story just blows me away. And I don't remember how I actually got connected to her, but we've been friends on Facebook and I've been following her for probably 6 or 7 years. And I didn't know this story about her. I didn't know this part of her story. So I'm so glad that she has humbly decided to let us share the story to you. So hopefully you can get some encouragement and know that you're not alone. So this is Leticia Pestova. And I just love it. I can't tell you how much I just love this story. So she is a doctorate student, award-winning classical musician, a martial artist, a certified NLP practitioner whose life has been a testament to the power of resilience and what God will do for those who have faith in him. And she rings that bell and it echoes. So she has overcome some significant personal challenges, including addiction and physical trauma, through the unique blend of holistic healing practices, meditation, and spiritual enlightenment and God in music. She has just turned her entire life around. So just that power of redemption that none of us are too far gone. So, and we'll get into her story, and it blows my mind every time I just get those bits and pieces. So I want to let you take it away. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about how, before we really get into your story, what is the new thing in life that is just, you're so thankful and grateful for? And then we'll get into your story and how that has just kind of flipped the script.
Oh, definitely my husband and our daughter, my son, Hunter. Our daughter is about 1.5. Her name is River, and she was unexpected. I was in my late 30s and I was told by numerous doctors I couldn't have children anymore. I had destroyed my body. I really had with addiction, the alcohol, especially the pain meds. And we'll probably get into it more, but after I got out of jail, and this wasn't the first time, this was many, over 10, 15 years of just tripping on myself because I thought I could quit. I thought I could stop so many times, and I would for a couple of days. So I would lie to myself and say, I'm fine. And then when I wasn't, I would just keep myself busy. So it was just more activities to kind of push the addiction further and further into that dark space. But when I became pregnant with her, it was at a very instrumental place in my life with my husband because he didn't trust me. I didn't trust him. I was out of jail. I'd done all these horrible things. And all of a sudden I'm pregnant, and it just stopped. It stopped everything. And I had been praying and I wasn't hearing any answers. And I thought God didn't exist. And I went atheist for a while. And then I kept going back to doctors because fibromyalgia, the scoliosis, especially the neuropathy, I had this horrible, horrible shake. I was probably about 90 pounds at this point. But I decided, this was the first time in my life I became angry with myself. I was so upset with myself. It was no longer my parents, the world, an ex, this or that. And my husband challenged me when he got me out, and he was the only one that stood by me. He showed up for me. I thought he was going to serve me divorce papers in jail and say, bye-bye, take the house, take everything. But he shows up and I'm bleeding. I've got, blood going into my ear, and people in jail thought my hair was red. It was all blood. I had to leave it there because I could have gotten an infection and died. I was told this. But I get out, and I could tell he was so hurt. He was so hurt. But he said, you're never going to touch these things again. And it was a heavy list. It was long, and he kept going and going and going. And I hadn't really remembered what I'd done at one specific night. And so I thought, well, it can't be that bad. I mean, I got chewed up. I'm the one that's in pain. Who are you to complain? And that was still the addict in me, right? So when he showed up for me, it taught me unconditional love because I wasn't lovable at all. And he could have just served me with divorce papers. He could have just taken off with everything, which most people do. And he didn't. He gave me this list. And I had all these thoughts going through my head. And I thought, what if I could be saved? I was facing 8 felonies. I was about to go to prison for the rest of my life. And I thought, what if I could be saved? What if there's something here that's bigger than myself? So I decided to fight myself for the first time in my life and learn about forgiveness and just really dive into education and knowledge, anything about addiction, anything about the fibromyalgia. And as I slowly healed, it taught me what true love is, because we're all searching for love, and we think we find it and it's the butterflies, and it's no, it's when the person shows up and you're bloody and you're disgusting and you're not very lovable, you don't feel lovable, you just want to give up, and they're saying, don't give up. And so that gave me a little bit of a spark. And then that kept me going. Every single time I started telling myself this is too much, because it was very unbearable, especially with drawing off the pain meds. I'd never felt anything like that in my life. And I compared it to the birth of my son, because I had him naturally. I had all these complications, but I remember that pain. That pain was pretty unbearable. And this was probably 10 times worse. And I just thought, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm going to fight. I wasn't going to try. I'm going to fight. And so he initially gave me that spark. And then other little things started happening. And so it added to it. So I was sloughing off the ugly layers of the onion. And I was seeing, oh, there's actually something underneath this. Because it's scary. It's scary when we quit things. They're our friends. They're a part of us. They make us funny, or we've been going through life, and this is how we operate. Gives us a shield. And it's they're liars, but they're shields. And I was getting rid of all of these layers, and I discovered I was a really scared, hurt little girl underneath. I was very, very terrified of the world. I was scared of people. Didn't like people at all at this point. And then I started identifying, wrote down, these are problems. These are big problems. You're very sick. And I was. And the addict's brain, the alcohol and everything that you take, these substances, they change you on a cellular level. And so I thought like an addict. I fought myself for 2 years. Then I noticed little subtle changes where I would feel reprieve. And I thought, okay, I want more of that. So then I would focus on that. And I noticed the other thoughts started to dissipate. I thought, okay, there's something much bigger than me here. But because initially my husband showed up for me, family members, no parents, nobody, everybody was done with me. And that's fine. But he showed up. And I didn't even know why. Why would he put up with such a disaster at this point? But it gave me that little spark and something I'd never felt before. And I thought, I cannot disappoint him. I'd rather die at this point than disappoint him ever again. So that was a little.
I am so glad that he called you to the mat with radical honesty and responsibility and said, hey, I'm here for the fight. I'm going to fight for you, because he knew who you were genuinely to the core of who you were without all of the mess. And he saw that through all the mess, and he called you to the mat on that and held your feet, so to speak, to the fire to really remove all of those layers that didn't belong to you. And he could see that. And I love that part of your redemption story too, of that you had not only a spiritual anchor, but you also had a physical anchor to help you go through that day to day. I really don't want to let him down. And then, your kids and they just set those anchor points as well. So take us back to the moment when you felt everything was against you. I mean, you have a very powerful story, and she wrote a book. So I hope you go get the book and get all of the details. So she doesn't have to go into all the juicy details, but take us back to that moment where you were like, okay, everything is against me. I know there was a moment where you just wanted to end it all and you were hoping that it would end.
You want me to talk about that specific night? Because there are two very specific moments. The night everything bad happened and I gave up. And then when the good stuff happened and I surrendered, very different.
Yes. Let's go for the surrender story. So they will go and read your book and read the catalyst that actually got you there to that powerful moment. But what was the moment where you just felt everything was against you and you just had to make a change? Like that it forced you into that change.
It was the moment when I sat in the car with my husband. He wouldn't even look at me and he gave me that long list of to-dos. And then I had to go to a hotel. I wasn't allowed to go home. So I was homeless at this point. I didn't have money. I was fired from my job. Everything was kind of gone. But my whole body was depressed for 5 days. This really scared me because the body, I was telling myself, get up, and it just was not even moving. And all the thoughts started pouring in. And as I was healing and the memory was coming back, it was too much for me. And I couldn't sleep. And the pain was so bad. I just kept saying, please just let me have a heart attack and die. Just let this be over with. And I started thinking of other ways to commit suicide because it really is too much on the human body. And this is why people commit suicide. They're done. But I couldn't move for 5 days, so I couldn't do anything about it. And every thought that I had, well, go get your hydrocodone, go get your pain medication, just take that. It was that same spark that my husband, the look in his eyes and just him showing up to me, that pure love that I said, no, we're not doing this anymore. If you die, you're going to die organically. But I didn't die. And then the minutes ticked and then the hours. I was atheist at this point. I didn't believe in God, angels, demons. And there was a moment in January 2021 that I had that's in the book, but I started remembering what had happened. And I went, well, wait a minute. What was that? What was this light? And my heart and I thought, okay, there's more to it. So I started educating myself and I heard all these thoughts. God doesn't exist. What are you doing? You're a loser. Just kill yourself. And I would scream, leave me alone, leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
And the thoughts would dissipate. They're not my own thoughts. Everybody's born pure and they're born of love. And we have all these wonderful aspirations for the future. We don't have these thoughts of doubt and depression and despair and sadness. So I knew they weren't of my own. Now there weren't all these distractions that I had, and I had to deal with these thoughts, these voices, these demons. I started fighting back. And then this urge came over me, and it was just too much. And I yelled out, I said, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if you're really there. But I used to believe in you as a child, and I need some help. I can't do this on my own. I can't. We're human. We're flawed. And this warmth overtook me. And then I started getting these thoughts. Do a cold plunge. I didn't know what cold plunges were. Do a cold plunge. So I'd research that, and it forces your body to heal very quickly. It gives you endorphins and serotonin. And I thought, okay. So on day 6, I fell out of bed and army crawled into the bathtub and had my husband pour ice in there. And I sat there for 11 seconds and locked up, and then he had to carry me out. But I felt better.
Wow.
I thought, all right, there's something here. So then I immediately went back to prayer and just begged, please forgive me. I don't know if I am forgivable, but I know I have a soul, and I know there's good in me. Because I was good most of my life. I was good towards people. I loved people and places and things. And now I fallen so far. And I knew all of a sudden something was there. And so I decided to believe, and I decided to have faith. And I said, I surrender. Whichever way you want me to suffer through this, I surrender. I put my life into your hands, and I'm ready to do the work. And I promise, if you get me out of this, if you teach me how to heal my body, I will be a light for you. I will be a warrior. I will follow your word. because there's a difference when you feel the bad energy and when you feel the warmth. You know it's loved, you know that's right. So I would just listen to that. And then it was about 2 years of just misery of fighting my body and the thoughts. And one day I woke up and I felt happy. And it was just an incredible feeling. And that's not of my own design. My body was so incredibly broken. I was shot. I was mauled. I mean, my whole right side of my head was shaved. My ear, was gone. It was a mess. It was a mess. And, this muscle was starting to cover my broken bones, and I was healing up scars even. And I was seeing doctors, and they were saying, well, what are you doing? And I said, I'm praying. And I would just get weird stares. So I thought, okay, I'm going to remove myself from Western medicine, because they'd already failed me numerous times. But I think a human habit is to want to go back, because I could put all my problems on a doctor, and the doctor would be responsible. And I thought, no, I can't do this anymore, because I'm not being responsible for me. So it was a 2-part. It was surrendering, but it was taking responsibility for everything, every action, every word, every thought. I just didn't surrender and sit back and, twiddle my thumbs and wait for stuff to happen. I fought. It was battle after battle, minute after minute. It was torture.
I can't imagine going through everything that you've been through and coming out on the other side without having your Heavenly Father be the one to carry you through. Like, it would be not almost impossible. Like, that He is the master physician. He is the potter. He can remold things and put things back the way that even better than He designed you the first time, because of that surrender. And I love that part of your story. So when you got to the place where you were out of the hotel room, what was that season of daily action that shifted for you from your previous life of the anger and the pain and the addiction to, like, now I'm choosing different? What was that resilience that you built of making that new choice? What were those new choices in that season of your life?
Well, it was having not hope. Hope is a bit of a liar, because we're projecting something. It was having faith this time, knowing that something was there watching out for me. It wasn't, again, of my own design. It wasn't of my own doing. If you're just a human being and there's no God, there's no higher force, I would have died, and that's it. Story over, or gone to prison for the rest of my life. And it was starting to educate myself in areas where I was very faulted. The fibromyalgia, the scoliosis, instead of going to doctors and just kind of throwing it on their shoulders and saying, fix me or whatever, I learned everything I could. I ordered a ton of books on consciousness and manifestation. And I started trying things, because you don't know what works for you until you try it. What works for you doesn't necessarily work for me. And so I kept trying things, and these were my tools. So I imagined a tool belt around me, tool belt of God, the belt of truth, the full armor of God. I talk about this and a lot online. This is what I'm talking about. You have to put tools in your tool belt. So the cold plunge was a tool. And then I learned about consciousness, being aware of your thoughts, not just aimlessly walking through life, because I did that for most of my life. I would just allow, because we think these thoughts are ours. We don't realize when we put substances in our body, we're welcoming that energy. Everything is energy. So now I had all this energy that attached to me. And so I was able to pinpoint and identify, that's not me. And so I would focus, because I didn't understand, and anything I didn't understand, I jumped on, I tackled it. Like somebody was in the room attacking me. I wrestled with it and wrestled with it. And sometimes I would get answers, sometimes not. Learned about herbal things and teas and holistic modalities. And I just went, oh my gosh, why are we not taught this? Why don't medical doctors know about holistic care? Well, there's a reason for that. There's a reason, because you're sick and you're weakened and you're a client, you're a patient the rest of your life. If you knew how to heal yourself and your body, if people really truly understood on a cellular level what your body can do, They would never go to an MD unless they had a broken bone. Yes, MDs are wonderful if you need spinal surgery, if you need, care for birth and delivery, but no one should ever go to an MD for their health.
Mm-hmm. MDs are disease specific. That's what a medical doctor is. They focus on a specific disease, not the prevention and it's not well care, it's sick care. So it just blows my mind that there is doing the preventative things. We talk about an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So taking in all of those steps. So your story has not only impacted your life, but it has impacted those around you. Can you tell us some unexpected impacts that, because you persevered through, that someone else's story changed? Have you experienced any of those things, and just by in your own darkness and coming out into the light has helped others? Can you share one of those stories?
Absolutely. It was about 2 years later when all the noise, because you have to get rid of all the noise and the distractions and open your heart. And this was the first time I did that. I reopened my heart. And so I was able to start attracting things without even thinking about it. And there was an incident where I went to Starbucks and I was in line and I was praying and I was in a lot of pain. And all of a sudden I just heard this horrible crash. It was over in Tempe. And I see this car just start rolling, end over end, and it falls. And I've had this happen to me before, where people get out of their cars and they start recording. It's shocking. It's surreal to me. I was in another incident years ago with my husband where he got hurt and my neighbors were recording. I was screaming for help and they started recording. And I couldn't believe it, but this is what a lot of people do. We had a few people, run up, but I just felt calm. I felt calm because I could deal with that situation. And normally I would just go, oh my gosh, are they okay? What do I do? And everybody kind of panics, but I walked up very slowly to the car. I unbuckled his belt. Are you okay? I checked him and he was in shock and he started walking towards traffic, and I was able to put my arm around him and say, hey, let's go this way, and sit him down and give him some water. I was able to think clearly what needs to be done. There was no panic whatsoever. And he sat down, everything was fine. Lots of people were recording, and I was able to direct very calmly, ma'am, can you please call 911? Yes, thank you. Could you get some towels? His head is bleeding. Thank you. Starbucks employees were pouring out, recording too. And I asked him, hey, what's your favorite, Starbucks cup or whatever? And he's just, what? He's just completely out of it. Let's grab him a coffee. He was trying to distract him. And he goes, I got to go back and get my phone, because he was in shock. But I understood what he was going through. Whereas the other people were saying, it's so stupid. Why are you going for your phone? He was in shock. Yeah. But I had been there myself. So I was able to identify and be open. And so a lot of incidences like this happened to me where somebody gets hurt. There's a gentleman who fell over, hit the back of his head. Lots of people were around. He fell into the gutter. And his little dogs ran off. And this was somebody I normally saw. I knew he was homeless. He was living out of his truck. But when he fell down, nobody went up to him. And you see this a lot. And it wasn't shocking to me anymore. And I wasn't upset with people. They do what they know, right? But I was able to walk up to him and do the same thing. What do you need? Are you okay? Can you stand? And go through the process very calmly. So he stayed calm. And this is what's important in life when something bad happens, that you have somebody by your side, like my husband, who's able to stay calm and say, this is what needs to happen. Because it doesn't matter what your training is. If you can't stay calm here and here, it doesn't help anybody. And you just make matters worse for the most part. So a lot of situations like that happened to me. I thought everything would be really good. And then I realized, wait a minute, this is a very good situation. I wonder what would have happened if I wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And other people will walk up and, I'll run into them and pet their dog, and they start telling me their life stories, and they're out of breath, and they go, oh, can I give you a hug? And they take off, and it never would have happened to me before. Maybe they feel safe with me. And I like that, because a lot of people didn't feel safe in my presence. And so things were changing. And I learned about the torus field, your auric field, and your energy. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna strengthen this, like this. because I'm attracting people, places, and things I can help. I really did want to help, but I wanted to help organically. So,
Beautiful. I am thankful that you are still here on the planet and that all the work that you're doing and just your message on Facebook and Instagram and the socials of just that message of positivity of, hey, like things happen, life happens, there is pain. We're not avoiding the pain, we're navigating and we're coming out better on the other side. People think that being resilient is just being tough, like grinning and bearing it and just muscling our way through. But with all that you've experienced on both sides, what does resilience mean to you?
well, it's being a warrior in a garden. You have to be capable of the violence and then transmute that. Because if you're not capable of violence, then you're just a nice person. I asked my friend this one time too, because she said, "Do you want to go to a bar with me?" I said, "No, that's not my thing." And she said, "Well, I'd rather take you if something happens." She didn't want to take her other friends because they're nice and they couldn't say no. It's hard for people to say no against authority, and there's a reason for that. But we've been beaten down so much. I remember the feeling of just, I was pathetic. I was worthless. I was worth nothing. You mentioned my message. You are never beyond help. There's a point of no return with your body, but the body is resilient. Your mind is incredible. And if you just educate yourself on how everything works, and that's a scary part because you got to pop your bubble, you got to peek, you got to take the blinders off. It's scary. No, I don't want to go towards the light. It's too bright. I've literally had women say, "Don't pop my bubble. I like what I'm in and you're scaring me." So it's like, no problem. I'll back off. That's all right. Everybody's at a different level. It's very scary when you have to unlearn everything and then relearn it. But if you know that you are absolutely capable of violence, which I am, it helps me with bravery, honor, grit. It gives me not a leash, but a tool to go out into the world and face anything and everything, be in situations where there's somebody's in a fire in a building. I don't mind. I'll walk through it. I know I'm safe. So what if I get burned a little bit? Somebody rolls over in a car. I got you. No worries. And crawl in that car. I got you. Let's get you a coffee and a water. You're safe. So because of the levels that I've been through, I want people to know if you transmute that, you can become the best, highest version of yourself. And it's incredible when that happens, but you have to fight for it. And it's suffering, but you choose the suffering in life. Do you want to have suffering at the hands of people, places, and things? Or do you want to choose the suffering? And most of the time, it's not about control. Now you're just walking at a different level that you understand, and you're not afraid of anything because you know what you handled and how you came out of that. And you're not just, I had a point where about year one, I retracted from the world. I didn't like people. The addict in me was still fighting me. And I was terrified to go outside. I became an agoraphobic for a bit. I was terrified to leave my room because there was just so much stimulation hitting me at every single angle. And I couldn't take anything for it this time. So if you start educating yourself, knowledge is power. A lot of this is hidden from us for a reason, again, to keep us sick and just miserable and depressed, because you can be controlled that way. But if you know your own power, your true power, you're not afraid of anything. And Dr. Jordan Peterson says this. He goes, "You be a monster." I never understood that. He was in an interview. He goes, "You be a monster. A warrior in a garden, not a gardener in a war."
Mm-hmm.
And that makes sense now because I do garden, metaphorically speaking and literally speaking, I do garden and I love my plants and I talk to them and they make me very happy. And I appreciate the little things because I know the destruction and the evil and the malevolence. And so you have to know the darkness to hate the light, true darkness, true evil. And here's the thing too, the human mind can't handle trauma. We can't handle trauma. So we need a higher power to take us out of that. Why, if you just get angry at the world and you withdraw, you're only hurting yourself. because you can't help anybody. And there was a point too where I bought some land and I was just ready to go out and pitch a tent and leave me alone. I've been so traumatized, I couldn't even handle speaking to another human being. But that's unhealthy. And God was talking and saying, no, go.
Yeah.
So yes, if you are very capable of violence and you change that, you will be an incredible human being because nothing will scare you ever again. Literally nothing.
Yep. You faced your demon head on, face to face. And then you took the power from the demon and got the knowledge and put it into action. And that's the thing that changes the posture, right? It changes us from being the gardener to being the warrior, right? So we need both aspects, and we need to have all of the multiple facets, but that you came face to face with your demon and walked away stronger. Maybe you didn't walk away right in the first moment, but it took time. But you realized that the action and the knowledge and changing the mindset and the mind frame, which got you into NLP and all of those things of just, it's possible to face it and walk through the fire. Y'all, she plays with fire. You need to see this. I'll put a little clip and link to her socials. She is like flinging fire all over the place. So I would be scared of her too. I want her on my side. I don't want to face her. I want her on my team 100%. So I have one more question for you.
Okay.
If you could give one piece of advice to someone facing adversity right now in their darkest, deepest place with their scariest demon, what would it be?
Oh, you have nothing to fear. Fear is so crippling and doubt is debilitating, and we sit with these thoughts and they fester in us and we bury them. There is nothing to fear. Fear, doubt, sadness, depression, they're liars. They are liars and they are not you. They're not you. So when these thoughts go through your head, fight them because they are cowards. This is what I learned when I actually turned and I started facing myself. Because God says in the Bible, you don't have to be religious to believe this, but God says, love thy enemy. And I said, all right, I will obey. And I started loving myself. And that was the hardest thing because I really had truly hated myself for so long. And that's why I would get into other relationships. They were distractions. I would work 2 and 3 jobs, more distractions. If you can't sit down and be with yourself, you're in bad company. You got to do something about that. So if you're suffering with an addiction, there's a void there and you're chasing love. It comes all the way back to love because I had a wonderful childhood. I knew what love felt like, but I couldn't articulate that as an adult. And then I started getting into trouble. And then once I felt the pain medication, it's like, oh, that's love. I'm feeling love. Alcohol, I'm feeling love. It's not love. They're liars. They're liars, but they make you feel good and they fill voids. So if you're in a dark place, no, this isn't you, and you have to fight back, and you have to put on the full armor of God, and you need help. Yes, anybody can quit an addiction, but you can't stay sober. There's a reason for this. People don't understand, and they go, well, you just get over it. I hear this all the time. They need to grow up. They need to get over it. Well, it's more than that. It's more than a substance. There's trauma, and the alcohol is the symptom. It's not the problem. The meth, the cocaine, it's the symptom. So now you have to go back and you have to face yourself. People don't like facing themselves. This is why we say face your demons, because they are your demons. That's a scary thing because you don't know. When you look in that mirror, when you start fighting yourself, it comes back to you, the different levels of you. It's not your ex that hurt you, your mother that did this, your father that did that. It is you. Yes, there's a childhood, there's a history, there's trauma, but now you're an adult. You can learn. Don't stay broken. Start fighting you, and everything else ripples. It automatically ripples, and you'll find yourself in situations where a car rolls over and you help somebody. Somebody falls over and nobody helps them, you help them. And you don't go, what's your problem? Why are you not helping? No. It's not about that. Because you're no longer broken. But you understand, they're just at different levels. And people say they're an adult. They should know better. No, yeah, there's a little bit of truth to that, but that's an ignorant statement because everybody is operating at different levels.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're sitting there and you're just depressed and you're miserable, again, it's not you. Start educating yourself, and not everything will be truth to you. A lot of stuff is muck, and you take it away and you go, okay, well, that didn't help. Try something new. And then it helps. And you go, okay, I'm going to put that in my tool belt. All right. And then you level up. Boop.
Yep. And then you get yourself a backpack. And then
Yes.
and then you get yourself a cargo trailer. Get all those tools.
So bad.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of tools, how do those that are listening connect with you on the socials? How do they get your book? I will make sure everything's linked below. But how do we get your light in the lives of us that are listening?
Oh, I would love to. Hell Hounds and Redemption is available on ebook, Amazon. It's available on Lulu. And it's there's a link on my Facebook. If you just type in Leticia Pestova or just Pestova, it's hard to spell my first name. Usually my first one will come up and it's on the front page. Mm-hmm. It's a blue book. You see my mugshot and you see the new me. And it's funny because when I posted this, people thought it was two different women. I thought, yes, it is two different women. It is. It's wonderful. But it's on the first page and they can just click it. It's $6 on Amazon. It's really, really cheap. So you can just read it and take from it what you will and do away with the rest. And just know you're never beyond help. I don't care how broken you are. I've been shot. I've been mauled. I've been beaten up. And this was just one event of many. But I buried everything. Everything was coming to the surface. This little spark, my husband, decided to give me. Mm-hmm. Got to face everything. So yes, I would love it if more people read the book and email me and let me know how they feel. And I hope it helps a lot of people.
It is a powerful story. So I do encourage you, if you're listening, to go grab her book and follow her on all the socials. We'll make sure that it's all listed below. So I am so honored and grateful that you have shared this story with my audience, because liberating your awesome has been a passion of mine. Everyone knows my story of how I got Lyme disease and 18 co-infections from blood transfusions and all kinds of stuff. And just when the world falls apart and throws you a curveball, you got to stand back up and do something about it. So I am honored and grateful that you shared your story of liberating your awesome with our audience. And I hope it gives them hope and encouragement that they too can liberate their awesome. So thank you again, Leticia, for taking the time to share your amazing, incredible story. And I do hope that you go and follow her. And we're just so blessed to have you share your story with us. Thank you again.
I really appreciate you. Thank you.
New day rising, time to grow. Small steps leading where you wanna go. Trials and fire, but you're still here. Stronger now after all these years. Learning, growing, healing, thriving. One step closer, keep on striving. Liberate your awesome, one step at a time. Every ripple starts so small, but it changes everything after all. One small move, one bold leap. This is the moment, gonna make it deep. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. New day rising, time to grow.